Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Natalie Fanny Gonzalez. Welcome to the afternoon session of our council meeting. Before we start with the items, I'm going to turn it to Council Member Shevra Evans.
Sure. Good afternoon. I just wanted to acknowledge that we have Annie Ahmed here from University of Shady Grove with some students from the Student Council. We were able to meet upstairs. The president, Jennifer, you can just wave your hand, and we have Chris, wave your hand. If there are other students in the audience that are members of the Student Council, please raise your hand. We just thank you for coming to observe our session today. And email if you have any questions later on. Thank you. For your leadership and service. Yep.
Thank you, and welcome to the Montgomery County Council. We love seeing our young folks coming here. So we're going to start with agenda item 4. It's a public hearing on a resolution to approve Executive Order 208-25, disposition of county property, Wheaton, Maryland National Capital Park and Planning Commission, headquarters retail. Very excited about that one. That's all I can say. Council action is scheduled immediately following this hearing. As a reminder of our public hearing testimony guidelines, your comments must be limited to issues relevant to the public hearing topic for which you are testifying and are appropriate for a public meeting. You will hear a tone when your time is up, and we appreciate everyone abiding by their allotted time. We have one speaker, Mr. Kumar. Is he here? I don't see him here. Mr. Kumar, going once, going twice. Nope, that's not him. Okay, we tried. This public hearing is now closed. We are gonna move on. We will now move on to action portion of this item. Is there a motion to approve Executive Order 208-25? Moved by Councilmember Wojawondo. Can I get a second? Second by Councilmember Sidney Katz. Those in favor, please raise your hand. It's approved by everybody on this, sitting here right now. Moving on. I see Councilmember Lorian Sells in the corner with her hand up. So, okay, beautiful. Thank you for that. Just on time. So now we will move on to our legislative session. This is State 7. It's bills for introduction. We're going to start, we have 3 bills today, and we're gonna start with Bill 15-26, taxation, property tax credits, Habitat for Humanity rehabilitations. Lead sponsor, Councilmember Friedson. Co-sponsors, Council President Natalie Fanny Gonzalez, Council Members Lutke, Stewart, Balcom, Katz, Evans, and Sales. A public hearing will be scheduled for a later date. I'm going to ask the lead sponsor if he wants to share some remarks.
Thank you so much, Madam President. Very excited to be moving forward this legislation. Just want to thank and acknowledge you for your co-sponsorship, along with Council Members Lukey, Stewart, Balcom, Katz, Evans, and Sales. As we are all too painfully aware, we have a severe lack of housing opportunities, not just in Montgomery County, but really everywhere. And home ownership, we know, is the primary pathway for which generational wealth is built. One of the challenges to increasing housing supply is access to financing and subsidies, as many affordable homes cost more to build than they can be sold affordably. That's why we subsidize them to the extent that we can, but home ownership opportunities in affordable housing is an increasingly challenging dynamic. Habitat for Humanity Metro Maryland is one of the only nonprofits producing affordable home ownership opportunities in Montgomery County to families between 30 and 80% of area median income. I am proud to have worked closely with Habitat for Humanity on a number of key legislation at the local level and at the state level, and this is continuing on that effort to support them in their important mission-based work. In 2010, Delegate Barve, who previously represented this area and is now in the Public Services Commission as chair, introduced and passed state legislation that authorized local governments to grant a property tax credit against the county or municipal property tax for real property owned by Habitat for Humanity, specifically for this purpose, so they could provide interest-free loans to residents at this affordable level so that we could create more generational wealth building opportunities, some of our more vulnerable community members. Since then, several jurisdictions have followed through on that in Cecil, Carroll, Talbot, Dorchester, Harford, St. Mary's, and Caroline County. This would be Montgomery County, not exactly leading at the forefront, but following in the footsteps of these efforts and fulfilling the opportunity that our own state delegate provided us. This bill would be Montgomery County's effort to do just that. It would waive property taxes through a property tax abatement to Habitat for Humanity on new homes and rehabilitated homes during the process of construction only, so they don't have to carry the cost of the property tax as well as the construction costs before they're able to begin recouping through their creative financing. This allows the opportunity for more future home buyers. It allows for the opportunity for more homeownership opportunities. It's a win-win for the county. It's more housing, it's more affordability, and it's better partnership with a critical nonprofit provider. I'm really pleased to be able to move this forward and continue this significant step forward to providing homeownership opportunities at affordable levels to our residents who need them.
Thank you. Councilmember Evan Glass.
I'd like to be added as a co-sponsor.
Thank you. Councilmember Will Jowondo.
So would I. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Does council staff have anything in? Oh, I see Councilmember Kristen Mink now. You wanna?
Oh, please add me as a co-sponsor.
Oh, beautiful. Councilmember Sidney Katz.
I'd like to be added as a co-sponsor as well, please.
And you are already on. You are on, but you want to double it. Yes, you double down. She wants to make sure everybody knows. Love it. Council staff, do you have anything else to add?
Nothing to add, thanks.
Okay, so this bill is now introduced. Thank you. We're going to move on. Next bill for introduction is Expedited Bill 16-26, Consumer Protection Amendments, Financial Exploitation Protection Act. Lead sponsor, Council Member Keith Stewart. Co-sponsors, Council President Natalie Fanny Gonzalez, Council Members Fritzen, Lutke, and Evans, Council Vice President Balcom, and Council Members Sales and Glass. A public hearing will be scheduled for a later date. Council Member Stewart.
Yes, great. Thank you so much, Madam President. We are introducing the Financial Exploitation Protection Act today after many conversations with our Office of Consumer Protections, and I just want to give a huge shout out to them and thank them and many of our community stakeholders. We began work with the Office of Consumer Protection on water meters and fees a couple of years ago, and again, shout out to Delegate Laura Charkunian for moving this issue forward at the state level. But one of the other issues we learned about when working with the office that they were dealing with was the increased instances of deception and fraud, such as the gold bar scams and text messaging scams that were really targeting our older residents in the community. So given that when we looked into this, state law had already been amended to add additional protections for adults over the age of 68 and adults who are vulnerable as defined in the bill against deceptive trade practices, we thought giving our Office of Consumer Protection additional tools to address this situation was the best thing we could do here. So working with them, and thank you, Ms. Wellens, for drafting the bill. This bill would define the term vulnerable adult under the county's consumer protection law. It would prohibit as a deceptive trade practice the use of deception, intimidation, or undue influence to obtain money, property, or services from a vulnerable adult as defined in the law. Prohibit as a deceptive trade practice the use of deception, intimidation, or undue influence to obtain money, property, or services from an individual who is at least 68 years old, and permit the Office of Consumer Protection to operate a voluntary mediation program in addition to their investigative authority. And I want to thank all my colleagues for co-sponsoring this, and thank to all the stakeholders for their feedback, and finally thank Senator Waldstreicher and Delegate Shetty for moving this forward first at the state level. Thank you.
Thank you. I see Councilmember Sidney Katz.
Thank you. Madam President, I would like to be added as a co-sponsor as well. I thought I already was, but I'm not, so could you please add me?
Noted. Councilmember Kristen Mink.
I'd like to be added as a co-sponsor.
Thank you. Does council staff have anything else to add?
Nothing to add. Thank you, Madam President.
Well, thank you. This bill is now introduced. We're going to move on to the last bill for introduction today, and is Bill 17-26, Motor Vehicles and Traffic, Speed Monitoring Systems Authorized Amendments. Lead sponsor, Council President Natalie Fanny Gonzalez. At the request of the County Executive, a public hearing will be scheduled for a later date. Can Council staff please brief us on the bill?
Sure. As you mentioned, the purpose of the bill, the purpose of the bill is to be able to authorize the use and placement of speed monitoring systems. And this is following enabling legislation that was passed at the 2025 Maryland General Assembly. Essentially allows for speed monitoring uses in a school zone with at least 20 miles per hour and on a highway identified in a county's strategic highway safety plan or Vision Zero plan. The bill also has a few technical amendments as well.
Thank you. I see Councilmember Don Lukey.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to be added as a co-sponsor.
Sounds good. Councilmember Will Jowando.
Thank you. I'd like to be added to this one and the last one. I missed my time, 1626 and 1726. Thank you.
Noted. The clerk got that. Yes, she did. I don't see anybody else wanting to speak. Thank you so much for your time, and this bill is now introduced. We're going to move on to item 6, moving on to call of bills for final reading. The first one is Bill 28-24, Employees Retirement System and Other Post-Employment Benefits Administration Powers and Duties. The Government Operations and Fiscal Policy Committee recommends enactment with amendments. I think we have all heard a little bit about this bill. Couple of emails here and there. Chair Stewart, can you please share the committee recommendation?
Thank you, Madam President, and with your approval, I'm going to give a little history on background on the bill, if that's okay, before turning over to Ms. Wellens. First, I want to thank everyone. There are a number of people here who are here for today's vote, and I just want to say thank you. We have had many, many, many conversations on this bill. The discussions of the Retirement Benefit Trust Fund governance and powers and duties of the boards have been going on for about a year and a half, if not close to 2 years. The bill that we are looking at today for final reading, Bill 28-24, was first introduced by the GO Committee on December 3rd, 2024. At that time, we received feedback, and there were many different opinions and a desire to get more information. And so last year, we postponed the public hearing, and the GO Committee requested from our Office of Legislative Oversight a report. And I want to thank Mr. Trumpka, who is with us today, for his work on that report. The report was received in mid-November of last year, 2025. And after receiving the report, the GO Committee held a session in January to review it. And then we asked the Council President, and she scheduled a public hearing on the bill. And then the GO Committee reviewed the OLO report and held on February 5th a discussion of the bill, reviewing the recommendations that came from the OLO report. I want to thank my colleagues on the Government Operations and Fiscal Policy Committee, especially Councilmember Evans, who quickly got up to speed on this issue. Very much appreciate you. And to our colleague, Councilmember Friedson, who rotated off the GO Committee as we were working on this bill. So what does this bill do? This bill is about best practices and ensuring that here in the county, we are following them. We have had a very deliberative process, and at the end of the day, while all parties may not agree, we are moving forward looking at the best practices and putting them in place. We are moving from having the concentration of decision-making in the hands of one person to expanding it to the board to benefit us with increased transparency, accountability, and so that we can benefit from the expertise and professional experience of all the board members. The committee unanimously recommends to the full council that we move forward with Bill 28-24, which would move from the CAO to the board the responsibilities to select and retain an actuary for the retirement system and to determine the assumptions to be used in the actuarial assumptions. We also adopted in February a number of amendments that were noted in the OLO report. We clarified the main role of the CAO. We also clarified the role of the Board of Investment Trustees, better known as the BIT. We enumerated a number of responsibilities of the CAO as well as the Board of Consolidated Retiree Health Benefits Trust. And we assigned to the board, the BIT, the responsibility of hiring and firing the executive director under the merit system with certain responsibilities assigned to the CAO. And I know council staff has one other amendment, technical amendment for the full council's consideration that I will let her go over. But I do want to thank Ms. Wellens, as we have been on this journey looking at this bill, for her expertise and in drafting it. So with that, we're done with the committee recommendation.
Thank you so much to Chair Stewart. I have to say, this has been, it may sound simple, but it has been a difficult issue. And I want to congratulate Chair Stewart for keeping it together and making sure that every detail has been addressed. With that said, we do have some amendments that the county executive has presented, but I would love for council staff to first go through your technical amendments, and then we can turn it to the executive so they can explain their amendments and then we'll open it up for the council, okay? So if we can start with you, Ms. Wellens, that'll be great.
Thank you very much, Madam President. Turning your attention to page 5, or no, not page 5, excuse me. Sorry, I was going to describe the GO amendments, but the chair already thoroughly described those. Turning to page 9, outstanding issues for the council's consideration. This is in the staff memorandum. There is one amendment being recommended by council staff, and it deals with the CRHBT board and the CAO and the division of how they choose the actuary and set various actuarial assumptions. The existing code is largely silent about this. In practice, the CAO has been performing those functions for the CRHBT, just as the CAO has been doing on the BIT side. And to bring some clarity, what the GO committee initially did was say, okay, let's have, since we're switching to the BIT, those two functions, let's also have them do those functions for the CRHBT. And as you know, the membership is largely parallel between those two organizations. There are the 13 members, the BIT, who are also on the CRHBT board. And then in addition, for the CRHBT board, there are 6 additional members, 3 from the college and 3 from the public schools. So in any case, after further discussions and consideration, what council staff would recommend is amending section 33-162, which governs the CRHBT management, and to make explicit in that section that the CRHBT board would have the power to determine the assumed rate of return to be used in actuarial and other computations for the trust fund. And then the amendment would go on to essentially recognize that the county and each county-funded agency or participating agency, including the schools, including the college, can, of course, select and retain their own actuaries for purposes of the trust fund. And then that they, for their own entities, would be determining actuarial cost method, mortality, turnover, and other assumptions to be used in the actuarial and other computations for the agency's portion of the trust fund. And again, those assumptions would be distinct from the rate of an investment return, which would be determined by the board as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you. So basically, the CRHBT has the responsibility to determine the rate of investment return for the trust, and that's what the amendment is about. I don't see anybody wanting to speak, so without objection, we're going to accept that amendment. And that's it from the council staff in terms of amendments. We did receive amendments from the county executive, which I will highlight. It will retain the status quo if we take on those amendments. But I would love for from the county executive's team to go over them. And if anybody has questions, please let us know.
May I just make some few clarifying points, Madam President? I just want to briefly talk about, and I know this has been repeated. I know Councilmember Stewart greatly went over this, but if you just allow me a few minutes, just go over, and then we can jump into amendments.
Please
First
go
of all,
ahead.
Thank you for allowing us to be here today. We have Mike Covey, our finance director, here with me today. So just briefly, Montgomery County's retirement system is nearly fully funded at over 95%, managing roughly $8 billion in combined asset. That did not happen by accident. It is a product of a carefully designed shared governance structure that has worked for nearly 40 years. Bill 28-24 would dismantle that carefully structured without any evidence that it is broken. Here's what this bill does wrong. It strips the government of core actuarial responsibilities, including setting key assumptions that drive government funding decisions and handling them to part-time investment boards that meet 4 times a year. It also removes meaningful supervisory authority over the executive director, the person responsible for $8 billion in assets, and places it in hands of rotating volunteer boards. The stakes are real. The county executive has proposed targeted amendments that take a balanced approach, transferring authority over the assumed investment rate of return to the Board of Investment Trustees, where it belongs, while keeping actuarial, financial reporting, and administrative authority with the CAO, where accountability lives. Those amendments also codify the December 2025 MOUs, which were initiated, drafted, and voted on by both boards and signed by the CAO. Again, we urge the council to retain the county's authority over non-investment related actuarial matters, preserve the executive director as a merit or non-merit, if you wish, with a codified structured board input, not board control, and adopt the executive's proposed amendments as submitted. Thank you for your time, and we are here if you have any questions.
Thank you for coming forward and presenting the concerns that the county executive have. Look, I have seen and watched the GO committee work session on this bill, and I think they have done an amazing job going through every single detail. And at the end of the day, I think this effort is about creating more transparency in the process. So if I don't see anybody else wanting to speak or support the county executive amendments, I'm going to move forward to ask for a roll call. Oh, I see somebody now. I kept looking at this until now. Councilmember Shara Evans.
Absolutely. Thank you, President Fanny Gonzalez. So there was a question that was raised about the size of, the amount of the different opportunities that the board has to get together. Now, will the new structure be able to make changes to the number of times that they're able to get together to be able to meet and discuss?
They're able to meet as often as they choose to.
Okay. Just want to say for the record. Okay.
A great comment and question. Thank you so much for that. And I think the county executive team would like to add something else.
Would you mind? I just wanted to say a very brief thing about the risks here, because I like to de-risk. That's my job. And I think this bill actually adds risk to the system. So I'm going to read this because I wrote it this morning to make sure that I got it all in a nutshell, but also so that I don't take it out of order. Bill 2824 cedes county budget authority for the retirement program to the Board of Investment Trustees because it transfers the authority for setting all of the actuarial assumptions to the board. The actuarial assumptions are used in the actuarial analysis to set the actuarially required contribution, the ARC. And the ARC is the amount that's budgeted by the county to fund the system each year. And not funding at the ARC, that required level, a credit negative as far as ratings agencies are concerned, and it's counter to prudent fiscal management as well. So eventually, if things go wrong, then that could put the county's AAA bond rating at risk. And keep in mind that while the county council and the executive are fiduciaries for both county taxpayers and the retirees that are part of the system, the board is only a fiduciary for the retirement system, for the retirees. The board can set assumptions that benefit retirees without consideration of the effects of their choices on the county's budget. The board could choose assumptions that make it easy to meet their obligations, which could cause county taxpayers to have to spend more to fund the system because county taxpayers are on the hook for the additional expenses if the board decides to make changes like reducing the investment rate of return. In fact, I'll give you one quick example. If the board reduces the investment rate of return by only 0.25%, in the first year, the additional expense that would have to be made from the county budget to pay for this would be just under $15 million in today's amounts. And the actuarial accrued liability with that 0.25% change would be an additional liability of $134 million over the next several years. So over the next 20 years, excuse me. So this, we talked about best practices. We're a AAA county. We generally are best practices. And I think what we do today is best practices. And this bill actually shifts everything to one side, and it takes away the requirement for collaboration between the executive branch, between the county, if you will, and between the boards. And you're putting all your risk eggs in one basket. And I think that's a bad idea. It's great that the board has 13 members, but it's one part of the puzzle, and the other part of the puzzle is the county and the county taxpayers. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Kit Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. Carview. As always, it's really a pleasure to work with you, and Ms. Kasari, thank you. I really appreciate all the work done on this. Just to that last point, Mr. Trumpkin or Ms. Williams, I can't find in my many papers on this. I think it's important, given some of the points Mr. Carview just raised, to also say who is on the Board of Investment Trustees, because we do have representatives from our Office of Management and Budget, our Office of Finance. We have our executive director here. And so our government is represented on that board. So if you could just review, I can't find the full list here.
You have the full list? Okay.
Yes, okay, so we're looking at section 33-59 of the county code. Subsection B lists the membership. 4 voting ex officio members, including Director of Management and Budget, Director of Finance, Chief Labor Relations Officer, Executive Director of the Office of the County Council, the executive. Then there are 3 voting certified employee organization representatives. And all of these folks are, appointed by the county executive, confirmed by the council. And specifically, there's, 1 representative from each of the major bargaining units. And then 6 trustees must be appointed by the executive and confirmed by the council. And then their qualifications are described. 1 is an active county employee who's vested member of the retirement system and the merit system, and not a member of a collective bargaining unit. Next, retired county employee who is a member of the retired county employee is a member of the retirement system. 2 persons recommended by the council who are knowledgeable in pensions, investments, or financial matters. 2 individuals knowledgeable in pensions, investments, or financial matters that are selected by the CE. And that's it. Did we get them all?
2 by the CE.
I'm sorry.
2 by the county executive and 2 by the council. Yeah.
Right.
I'm Aaron Tromka from the Office of Legislative Oversight.
Great. I just wanted to, for folks watching and everything, make sure we knew that that is who is on our Board of Investment Trustees. So there are representatives from our government on it. And basically what this bill is really doing is moving us from having one person, the chief administrative officer, make some of these decisions, to having this board make these decisions of the folks that it's made up of. So I kind of wanted to clarify that point. Thank you.
And I love that. Again, as I said, this is about creating more transparency, and I think we're doing that. I see Councilmember Shara Evans.
One last time, because this is a different change for people. How do we come back to the council to have the discussion to see how everything is going in the year or two? I'll ask that question to Ms. Wellens or to my council colleague, just because this is a big change. And so we want to show people that we're doing our due diligence and providing oversight.
Yeah, great question. I trust that the Government Operations Committee will be overseeing this and getting updates, but I'll let the chair speak on that.
Thank you, Councilmember Evans. Absolutely, we will stay involved, and I will say that our executive director has a seat on the Board of Investment Trustees as well, and so he can keep us updated on the information and their meetings.
Great question. Councilmember Don Lukey.
Thank you, Madam President. And I want to thank the chair of the GO committee for the thorough and diligent work on shepherding this bill through, and everyone's patience in working through this over a very long and extended period of time. And, you know, I appreciate that the county executive sent over amendments. My concern is that the amendments seem to indicate that nobody but the CAO has the competence to make certain decisions, and that's hard to bear. Because under the present situation, all members of the board have a fiduciary duty. Am I correct, Ms. Wellens?
You are correct.
Okay, and so it's not that they are now receiving a fiduciary duty upon them that they've never had before. They have always had it. It's just going to be done differently. And yes, it does include a heightened responsibility. Absolutely. But also, I don't think it's fair to say that nobody but the CAO is capable of making those decisions. And I think that, let me be clear, that's the tone of those amendments. That is the tone of those amendments. And that I understand that typically the way communications have happened with respect to the board haven't always been directed to all members of the board. That's going to need to be changed in order for all of the board members to be on the same sheet of music and make their individual decisions and discharge their fiduciary duties. And to Councilmember Evans' point about the frequency of meetings, any board can call more than, they are just simply required to have at least quarterly meetings. Is that correct? And that is what their practice has been. But they may always call more with appropriate notice and procedure under the Open Meetings Act. So there's never been an obstacle to that. And that may in fact be necessary based on the way things may need to moving forward. And they have that capability to do so. So I appreciate that we're having the discussion and that the amendments were sent over, but I would like to proceed with the bill as it came out of committee with the technical amendment proposed by council staff. Thank you.
Great. Before I call for the vote, I truly want to appreciate Assistant Chief Administrative Officer Fariba Kassiri, because I know you have met with virtually everybody here, and I know you care so much about not just this issue, but about this county. And I just want you to know that. I feel like you should know that. You too, but mostly her. To be completely upfront, because there's no other way I can be. With that, we have a GO committee recommendation as amended today with a technical amendment, and this is a roll call vote. Madam Clerk, can you please call the vote?
You need a motion.
Oh, I need a motion. That's right. Can I get a motion?
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Stewart, second by Councilmember Lorian Sales. It's a roll call vote. Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Luedtke?
Yes.
Councilmember Luedtke votes yes. Councilmember Mink?
Yes.
Councilmember Mink votes yes. Councilmember Sales?
Yes.
Councilmember Sales votes yes. Councilmember Stewart?
Yes.
Councilmember Stewart votes yes. Councilmember Glass?
Yes.
Councilmember Glass votes yes. Councilmember Katz?
Yes.
Councilmember Katz votes yes. Councilmember Friedson?
Yes.
Councilmember Friedson votes yes.
Councilmember Evans?
Yes.
Councilmember Evans votes yes. Councilmember Jawando? Councilmember Jawando votes yes. Councilmember Balcom is absent. Councilmember Fanny Gonzalez?
Yes.
Councilmember Fanny Gonzalez votes yes.
It was unanimous besides the person who's not here today, so 10. Thank you so much for your time. We appreciate you. Okay. Moving on. So we are now on the next bill for the council's consideration is action on Bill 2-26, Taxation, Fuel, Energy Tax, Green Bank Amendments. The Transportation and Environment Committee recommends enactment. Chair Glass, could you please share the committee's recommendation?
Thank you, Madam President. The Transportation and Environment Committee does recommend enactment of Bill 226, which would allow the Montgomery County Green Bank to use revenue received from the fuel energy tax toward resiliency activities and also generally amend the law regarding fuel energy tax. Very straightforward.
That was great. Anything else from the council staff?
No, the bill is relatively straightforward. Where existing law prohibits the funds that the county code directs fuel energy tax revenues to go to the Green Bank, where it presently prohibits those funds to be used for resilience activities, the bill expressly would permit those funds to be used.
Thank you for that. I see Councilmember Lorian Sales.
Yes, I know this was mentioned in the last piece of legislation about regular updates, but because we have a climate energy action plan that we are aiming for zero emissions by 2030, we want to ensure that we get some updates about how this spending is, being allocated across the different areas, whether it's with renewable energy or whether it is with the actual dedicated projects that it was initially requested for. So I'd like to propose an amendment, if I could, for an update on how we are, how the Green Bank will be spending the resources, just in case we need to revisit this legislation.
So the amendment is to request updates on once a year, or?
Well, yeah, once a year would be fine, just to make sure that we are aiming towards our, still meeting our climate action plan goals by 2030. I mean, we're 4 years away from the intended goals, and so whether it's in 3 to 5 years annually.
Can the chair of T&E respond to that?
I appreciate Councilmember Sales' attention to ensuring that these funds are used where they are needed. I think we all agree with that. And as we work towards our climate goals, which is reducing carbon emissions by 80% by 2027 and completely eliminating them by 2035, the T&E committee, especially during the budget session, does review this. And so I welcome you to join the T&E committee when we do have our oversight hearing on the Green Bank, because I know the three of us will be asking those questions, but welcome your input as well.
Thank you.
Sorry, Council President, I could also just add that Chapter 18A50, which is the environmental sustainability chapter of the county code, which is all of this sort of exists within two different places, within Chapter 52, which relates to the taxation, and then with Chapter 18A, which relates to has a portion related to the Green Bank. They do have an annual reporting requirement by December 31st of every year to the council and the executive.
Thank you, Mr.
So presumably that information would be
included already. Thank you, sir.
And I appreciate Councilmember Lorian Sales for bringing this up, because it's really important. Every time we send a bill, we do want to make sure that we're keeping track. So we don't need a motion because it's already embedded, but it's great that she brought it up. Councilmember Don Lukey.
Thank you, Madam President. And again, thanks to my co-lead sponsors and colleagues who have joined on. I'm very excited about the bill. And again, I'm excited to see, to Councilmember Sales's point, which types of different projects get funded moving forward. And also reminding everyone that if we're moving resources towards climate resiliency, which is facilitating, not shifting, right? It's facilitating the use of, we are not mandating a certain amount of it be used for climate resiliency. But to note and highlight again that climate resiliency projects often are done, typically now, always done in green ways to make them both green energy and climate resilience, so they are able to, in a revenue neutral way, utilize the green bank to get more flood mitigation, backup power generation, and infrastructure protection projects done by more apartment buildings, businesses, nonprofits, and individual homeowners. And in doing so, do so with cleaner, greener energy. That's important because you're killing, two problems with one solvable use of funds. And that's really incredibly important that we do that to facilitate that, because each individual homeowner or building owner or nonprofit organization knows what their needs are that they are facing now as a result of the climate change that has been thrust upon them already, and also attuned to the goals that we have as a county in our climate action plan. So I look forward to future discussions at TNE about this, and I look forward to the final vote on this bill. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Next, the other lead for this bill, Councilmember Andrew Friedson.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you to Councilmember Lukey in particular for your leadership on this. Proud to be a co-lead with you and with Councilmember Glass. And I just think it's important to talk about how we got here. So I just want to take a step back and explain, because I think it's important to the reporting and to some of the other oversight that we are doing. The Montgomery County Green Bank was created by my predecessor, Roger Berliner, when he was the chair of the Transportation and Environment Committee and served on the county council. It was funded with one-time funds, a singular infusion of dollars, approximately $10 million from the Pepco-Exelon merger. That was the beginning and also, unfortunately, the end of the discussion of what was going to be used to fund the Montgomery County Green Bank. So on the one hand, we were very proud of the fact, and should continue to be proud of the fact, that we're one of the first, if not the first, local jurisdiction to move forward with an enterprise of this kind, a local government stepping up to meet the climate challenges with financing and local support in this way. When I met with them originally, I asked, where are the deals? And there were very few, if any, actual deals where the dollars were being deployed. The challenge is $10 million is really not enough to leverage dollars and to finance large-scale projects in our community to allow for businesses and nonprofits and residences to be able to meet the climate challenges that we face, to green retrofit their projects and their properties. So working together with Tom Hucker, worked together, and we dedicated the fuel energy tax, 10% each and every year, and we hope that the county executive every year and years moving forward will always follow that. That hasn't always happened, to provide ongoing dedicated funding to the Green Bank. Today, the Green Bank has over $230 million in assets under management, and they have the ability to leverage federal dollars and private sector dollars in order to turn that into even more money. So that is how we got here. The question at that point was, how do we address an additional question, which came in 2020 by the Maryland General Assembly, who called on local governments to appoint and to designate a resilience authority. And the question became, should we set up a resilience authority, or should we just designate the existing Montgomery County Green Bank as the resilience authority? The concern at the time was, we don't want to duplicate efforts without funding. And so we didn't want to have an unfunded mandate. And so at the time, the council decided to restrict the funds to only green retrofit projects, not to resilience projects, which are different in nature, equally as important, but different in nature in order to not water down the work that we had already done. What has become increasingly clear is that the Green Bank and other community stakeholders have said, you know what, it would make sense for them to be able to leverage some of this money for that exact purpose. It wouldn't undermine, it would actually complement that effort. So we are coming back now and saying we should allow this money to be utilized for resilience projects as well as clean energy projects. I'll also note, and I just want to acknowledge, in addition to Tom Hucker and his co-leading this effort with me originally, Nancy Navarro, who was then chair of the Government Operations and Fiscal Policy Committee, wanted to dedicate a specific portion of these funds to ensure they were going to communities where the need was the highest. And so we set aside a certain percentage, 30%, in community equity index areas where we knew that there was significant need. And so that is one of the metrics that is evaluated when it's taken up in the Transportation and Environment Committee and at the full council during the budget process. And the good news is the Green Bank has been exceeding that number. So we set a standard and said, we want you to meet this standard. And in fact, they are exceeding that number. And some of the most important projects that we've seen in our community, one of the largest multifamily projects in East County, Hillendale Gateway, leverage these dollars. That's going to be the first net zero multifamily project, and it's the largest investment in East County up to that point on residential, and ultimately a number of key other projects, including major solar projects in the Up County that the governor has attended, have been moved forward because of that work and because of those efforts. So I just wanted to make sure that we included the context. This is building on a lot of work that has happened in the past. It allows us to expand our work to meet our climate challenges, but do it in a way that doesn't make the standards unaffordable for residents and drive them out of their homes or put them out of business or close off the ability for nonprofits to be able to survive. It allows us to meet these ambitious standards in a way that's reasonable and affordable. So with that, I will yield back, and I appreciate colleagues for their work.
Thank you for the history. It's always great. With that, we have a recommendation from the Transportation and Environment Committee to approve Bill 2-26. This is a roll call vote. Can I get a motion for approval? Moved by Councilmember Fritzen, second by Councilmember Don Lukey. Oh, Madam Clerk, can you please call the vote?
Councilmember Lutke.
Yes.
Councilmember Lutke votes yes. Councilmember Mink.
Yes.
Councilmember Mink votes yes. Councilmember Sales.
Yes.
Councilmember Sales votes yes. Councilmember Stewart.
Yes.
Councilmember Stewart votes yes. Councilmember Glass. Councilmember Glass votes yes. Councilmember Katz.
Yes.
Councilmember Katz votes yes. Councilmember Friedson.
Yes.
Councilmember Friedson votes yes. Councilmember Evans.
Yes.
Councilmember Evans votes yes. Councilmember Jawando. Councilmember Jawando votes yes. Councilmember Balcom is absent. Councilmember Fanny Gonzalez.
Yes.
Councilmember Fanny Gonzalez votes yes.
So this bill is approved unanimously with everybody present today. Congratulations. Next, expedited Bill 6-26, Fire and Rescue Services, Emergency Medical Services Insurance Reimbursement Program, Use of Revenues. The Public Safety Committee recommends enactment. Chair Katz, would you summarize the committee's review of the expedited bill, please?
Thank you very much, Council President. Expedited Bill 626 is the co-leads on that are the members of the Public Safety Committee, Councilmembers Lukey, Councilmember Mink, and myself. And it has the full support of every council member. Every council member are co-sponsors on this. This bill was introduced on February 3rd, and it went to public hearing on February 24th. Public Safety Committee work session was held on March 9th, and the committee recommended 3-0, and the enactment of the bill is introduced. The expedited bill would amend county law to permit an authorized local fire and rescue representative, that we also call LFRDs, to receive emergency medical service transport, which we also call EMST, reimbursement funding within certain permitted uses. EMST reimbursement program allows the Montgomery County Fire and Rescue Service to bill insurance providers for ambulance transport. and this revenue is used to support operations within the department. Montgomery County Volunteer Fire and Rescue Association represents the county's 19 volunteer fire departments, and we thank each and every one of them for everything they do, helps to support them and negotiate on their behalf with the county. The association, along with local fire departments, have been receiving a portion of this revenue. The Office of the Inspector General released a report the end of December opining that the Montgomery County MCV FRA was ineligible for the EMST funds because it was not a local fire and rescue department. This bill would amend county law to permit distribution of the EMST funds to the Montgomery County Volunteer Fire and Rescue Association as a local fire and rescue representative to be used for specific purposes. We appreciate the work of Mr. Hartung, President of the Montgomery County Volunteer Fire and Rescue Association, along with Division Chief Del Pozo of the Montgomery County Fire and Rescue Services. And I want to thank Ms. Wellens as well for her work on this, and turn to her with your indulgence if she has any additional information.
Just briefly, Madam President, I would just add that the bill, Chair Katz explained it wonderfully, just adding that it also does recognize that as per the prior practice, each year the council, when you pass the operating budget resolution, includes specifics in that resolution of how these EMST funds are distributed, including the 15% to the LFRDs through their representative. So that will continue, as well as the bill explicitly allows the county executive to enter into contracts with the LFRD representative to effectuate the disbursements. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't see anybody else wanting to speak. With that, I need a motion to approve expedited bill 6-26 as discussed today, moved by Councilmember Katz, second by Councilmember Don Lukey. This is a roll call vote. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Councilmember Lutke?
Yes.
Councilmember Lutke votes yes. Councilmember Mink?
Yes.
Councilmember Mink votes yes. Councilmember Sales?
Yes.
Councilmember Sales votes yes. Councilmember Stewart?
Yep.
Councilmember Stewart votes yes. Councilmember Glass? Yes. Councilmember Glass votes yes. Councilmember Katz?
Yes.
Councilmember Katz votes yes. Councilmember Friedson?
Yes.
Councilmember Friedson votes yes. Councilmember Evans?
Yes.
Councilmember Evans votes yes. Councilmember Jawando? Councilmember Jawando votes yes. Councilmember Balcom is absent. Councilmember Fanny Gonzalez?
Yes.
Councilmember Fanny Gonzalez votes yes.
This bill is approved unanimously with everybody present today. Next, the last bill for consideration is Bill 11-26, Fire and Rescue Services Length of Service Awards Program for Volunteers Amendments. The Public Safety Committee recommends enactment with an amendment. Chair Katz, could you please share the committee's recommendation?
Thank you, Council President. Bill 1126 was introduced on February 10th by the Council President at the request of the County Executive, with Councilmember Sales being added as a co-sponsor. A public hearing was held on March 10th. The bill went to Public Safety Committee on March 11th, and the committee unanimously recommended enactment with the amendment to give the bill an expedited effective date. The bill amends County Code and applies to 4% length of services award program, which we also call LOSAP, payment increases to volunteer fire and rescue personnel in accordance with a memorandum of agreement between the county, the Montgomery County Volunteer Fire and Rescue Association. First LOSAP payments increase is retroactive to monthly payments made since July 2024. Second increase is retroactive to payments since July 2025. Both increases are currently ongoing and apply for eligible volunteers. I want to thank Ms. Wellens for her packet, and to turn to her with your indulgence, to turn to her with any other information.
I don't have anything to add. Thanks, Madam President.
Great job. I don't see anybody else wanting to speak. With that, I look for a motion to approve Bill 1126 as recommended by the Public Safety Committee.
So to move.
Second.
A move by Councilmember Katz, second by Councilmember Don Lukey. This is another roll call vote. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Councilmember Lutke?
Yes.
Councilmember Lutke votes yes. Councilmember Mink?
Yes.
Councilmember Mink votes yes. Councilmember Sales?
Yes.
Councilmember Sales votes yes. Councilmember Stewart?
Yes.
Councilmember Stewart votes yes. Councilmember Glass? Councilmember Glass votes yes. Councilmember Katz?
Yes.
Councilmember Katz votes yes. Councilmember Friedson?
Yes.
Councilmember Friedson votes yes. Councilmember Evans?
Yes.
Councilmember Evans votes yes. Councilmember Jawando? Councilmember Jawando votes yes. Councilmember Balcom is absent. Councilmember Fanny Gonzalez?
Yes.
Councilmember Fanny Gonzalez votes yes.
This bill is approved unanimously with everybody present today. Now we're going to move on to CIP items. We are in work sessions on FY 27-32 capital improvement programs. We're going to start with the judicial security improvements. The Public Safety Committee Chair, Katz, if you can please proceed.
Thank you very much, Council President. County Executive recommends $98,000 in FY27 for judicial security improvements projects. This is the total amount in the 6-year CIP. The amount will complete Phase 2 of the project, which includes installation of new security doors on each level of North Tower of Circuit Court Building, including card readers, intercom, and fire alarm pull stations on each floor. These doors will restrict access to 2 elevators on each floor for judicial personnel. The Public Safety Committee recommended approval of 2-0. Councilmember Mink was absent. She was attending another meeting at that time in this building. She couldn't be in 2 places at once. I don't know how that worked. I turn to Mr. Onbinder and Ms. Farag for any additional information, as well as Assistant Sheriff Keena Jones and Mr. Sheridan, and we did want to welcome Judge Smith, Carla Smith, here as well. I think this is our first CIP, the pleasure of having our first CIP discussion. Does
anybody from the executive team would like to add anything that the chair did not mention? No? Oh, okay, beautiful. I don't see anybody wanting, oh, I see Councilmember Kristen Mink.
I'll just note that it would have been 3-0 if I was there. So.
I think it's very important for that to be stated as a member of that committee, so thank you for doing so. So without objection, the council recommends and supports the committee recommendation. Thank you for coming. So we're going to move on with, great job.
I learned a long time ago, take yes as an answer. Yeah, I'm telling you. Thanks.
Exactly. So we're going to move on with the police. Turning back to the chair, Chair Katz.
Thank you. There are 3 new projects for the police department in this CIP. First is the Police Enterprise Records Management System, RMS, for $1.7 million. While technically a new standalone project, it has been previously a sub-project of the Public Safety Committee Modernization Project. This RMS project has been a need for the department for over 10 years. Their current system was implemented in 2009 and has an expected lifespan of 7 to 9 years and is inefficient to meet the current needs of the department. The second project is for police body armor for $4.4 million and will provide for 1,346 sets of ballistic body armor as well as 65 sets of special body armor for our SWAT team. Body armor has a 5-year warranty and needs to be replaced after the warranty expires. The last project is for the 4th District Police Station for $40 million. This project was initially co-located with the Park Police Headquarters when the CIP was released in January. The county executive sent over an amendment last Friday, March 13th, with the recommendation to reconstruct the police station on its current site. The amendment limits the scope of work for this project to replacing the 4D station only. Discussion by the committee on the 4D station was postponed until an amendment from the county executive was received. The Public Safety Committee recommended approval of the county executive's recommended CIP with that same 2-0 vote when Councilmember Mink was absent because of being in this building for another meeting. Additionally, the committee asked the Office of Management and Budget to change the status of the Omni satellite station from pending closeout to active. I want to thank Ms. Farag for her packet and turn it over to her for any additional information and to Assistant Chief Augustine.
Thank you, Chair Katz. You did run through the 3 new projects that are in the police CIP, but there are 2 older projects still, the Outdoor Firearms Training Center, as well as the Public Safety Communications Center, electrical distribution and HVAC upgrade. Again, the committee recommended approval of those 2-0 with Councilmember Mink absent. You touched on every other point, so thank you.
Can before we continue, can you please clarify when is the committee going to take the police force station since it has been postponed?
Yes. So we were asked to postpone that at the request of the executive because the substantial amendment was coming over, which it did with the recommended FY27 operating budget. So generally when we get those, we try to schedule them along with the operating budget for the police department. And since this is now just going to be the Public Safety Committee, that'll be pretty easy to fit into the schedule.
We got it on Friday.
Beautiful. No, I know that. I just wanted to be on the record that it will be during that time. That's perfect because I do care about that particular item.
Yeah, we sort of knew that.
And besides that, you're welcome because the price tag for the regional was about $100 million. And doing this, looking at the budget that we have for this year, the challenges that we have, we had to take had to make the decision of splitting the baby and leaving this one alone. And I know this is something that Councilmember Luque has also, alongside with me, worked closely on. And obviously, I will have loved to have the co-location with Park Police. They were very excited to do this together, but the numbers don't work, and numbers don't lie, guys. People do, numbers don't. And the math just didn't work. So we had to make this recommendation. So anyway, I look forward to the future recommendation once you see this in committee. I don't see anybody else wanting to speak, but Councilmember Mink.
I promise y'all would have heard from me if I disagreed with something that happened in that session, but appreciate my colleagues. I agreed with this and appreciate the difficulty of the situation, but I agreed with this recommendation as well. Thank you.
I see Councilmember John Luque.
Yeah, and I just wanted to emphasize that we had asked for that clarification regarding the only police satellite station, that because while we understood there was I would say an internal way of phrasing things that makes sense internally, it does not make sense to the public to have it be closed, and we needed that to be listed as active, which in fact it is, and work is ongoing. So thank you for that.
Councilmember Wojo-Wando.
Thank you. Appreciate that conversation and compromise. I just want to ask briefly about the records management. You know, it's kind of like my thing I ask about every year, and just where the progress we've made, just an update for the millions watching at home. I know it's been a big investment since I've joined the council.
Yeah, so Assistant Chief Augustine, Chief of Management Services Bureau. So happy to report approximately a month ago, I reconvened a new committee with new leadership on it to look at the RFP process. At one point, we were looking to use a vendor to write the RFP, but we've done so much work over the last couple of years of writing an RFP for it that we're now taking the old RFP and just updating it. So I am very hopeful that within the next 4 to 6 weeks, there will be an RFP that will be out. And then going from that point, obviously going through the procurement processes and RFP evaluations, it's still going to take time to go through all those processes. But the first major step I hope to see in 4 to 6 weeks, which has been a project going on for at least the last 2 years.
All right. Well, glad to hear we're closer to that point. Obviously, I know I'm not probably more glad than you, but just please keep us posted. Obviously, it's critical to all the data things we ask you to do and the public want demand. So thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the question. I don't see anybody else wanting to speak. So without objection, we approve the committee recommendation. Thank you, Councilmember Katz. We're going to move on to the next item, and that's correction and rehabilitation. Back to Chair Katz.
Thank you very much. The county executive's recommended CIP includes 2 projects for the Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation. The first is the design and construction of a new Justice Center for $104.6 million. This facility will include a central processing and detention, as well as other uses, including District Court and Department of Health and Human Services. Design is to begin this spring, and construction expected to start winter of 2027. Project costs have increased by about $16 million due to an adjustment of the program requirements to comply with state law when a number of housing units required, as well as escalations for construction to comply with the requested schedule by the state. The second is planning of the Montgomery County Correctional Facility refresh project for $800,000 for FY27. This refresh will include medical unit modifications and a remediation of clogged vents in housing cells. I'd like to turn it over to Ms. Frog and Director Stevenson for any additional information.
The only thing that I'll add is that I had made a recommendation to remove the racial equity language from the Justice Center project. It was originally put into the CIP project when the Diversion Center and the Justice Center were one project, and it was aimed toward the Diversion Center itself, and it really had a lot to do with where it would be located in the county. Since those projects have now been split apart and locations have been identified, it kind of renders this racial equity language obsolete for this project. I did list some other racial equity considerations that the department can take into consideration as it moves forward with the Justice Center. They were able to distribute a program of requirements to me before we had the Public Safety Committee work session, and it had a lot of these items that I listed already in place. And again, as we've stated before in many different committee work sessions, they have a lot of these best practices already incorporated into their operations workflow.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Sorry, Councilman. I have no other comment to say. I just wanted to say thank you, Susan, for getting the information on this project.
Okay, Councilmember Shara Evans.
Sure, thank you. So the comment you made, are you going to put that back in? You said you can. I would like for the racial equity considerations to be put in for the diversion centers.
The new ones that I was listing
Yes.
for that. The Public Safety Committee did not vote on that, so if
they
that's something that somebody wanted to move at this point for the straw vote, I'm happy to have that incorporated into the project.
I see
several thumbs up on
Okay.
We have a motion by Councilmember Shara Evans to add the racial equity into the second by Councilmember Kristen Mink, and I see that everybody's in favor. So yes,
Appreciate
everybody's
that.
in favor.
Okay, just wanted to make sure.
Great call. Thank you for doing that. I don't see anybody else. So with that, we are going to approve as amended today. Thank you so much for coming. And we're going to move on to the last one, which is WSSC Water. And before I turn it to Chair Glass, I would love to recognize Commissioner Foster, who represents Montgomery County in WSSC's board. Thank you so much for coming. We love it when our commissioners come to the council and smile and say hi and connect with us. With that, Chair Glass, I turn it to you.
Thank you very much, Madam President, and welcome, Commissioner Foster. Thank you. The Transportation and Environment Committee reviewed the WSSC proposed CIP, which is at $4.8 billion, and that number includes 57 CIP projects as well as 15 information-only projects, which include other mostly bond-funded projects that do not meet the state definition for capital projects. The original request assumes a decrease of nearly $46 million from the previous CIP total. And there are 6 new projects which include Little Seneca Rehabilitation, 4 new projects in Prince George's County, and then the last remaining project is a regional project, which is the metering infrastructure upgrade, and that is an information-only project. But good things are coming, and I have some questions I'd like to ask, but I'll yield back to you to start the conversation, Madam President.
Thank you for that report. Chair Glass, does anybody from staff or anyone would like to make some remarks before I turn it to colleagues?
Yeah, just to note that subsequent to the committee's review, WSSC Water, when it approved its FY27 operating budget, also approved what's called a mid-cycle update to the WSSC Water CIP. And the update, it's noted in the cover sheet of the packet. It included mostly changes to the Blue Plains projects. The DC Water budget was updated subsequent to when this budget was originally put together last fall. So we're incorporating the latest numbers for that. And also WSSC made some adjustments to its other capital programs information-only project. At this point, they are assuming to accommodate those changes within their 27 operating budget that was submitted. But we do want to update the CIP portion of the budget to reflect the latest numbers. So that was not something the committee voted on because it wasn't available at that point. So staff has included it in this packet today.
Thank you for that update. I'm going to turn it back to Chair Glass.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Mr. Lovchenko, for further details. Appreciate WSSC being here. And I think it's really important for the public and my colleagues to know what the status of your infrastructure is, especially given the longest cold spell that we as a region have faced in a lifetime or so. And that builds upon other system failures because of the age of our sewers and pipes. So can you provide an overview for everybody so that everyone understands why this funding is important and the work that's ongoing?
For the record, my name is Alan Wong. I'm the chief engineer. Thank you, Councilmember Glass. We have had a challenging season so far, as I know you're aware of. As far as the cold weather aspects and the post-freeze that we had after the several days of wet weather, we were able to accommodate the breaks that we did experience in the water system. We had crews primed to go out to those areas that were called in, and we had a very I'd say productive approach to the to the cold weather issue. I think the other parts of our system that we have identified as aging and again only being able to respond to maybe 6 or 7% of the total mileage, at a time. We've decided to increase that in our FY27 CIP. So we're trying to get further ahead of those potential disaster possibilities, like we had with, not we, but DC Water had with the Potomac Interceptor. So I think that really was a call to action, the Potomac Interceptor. While we've had plans to do additional condition assessment and to spend more CIP funds in that area, FY27, we already increased that. So I think we're going to be seeing increases year over year to make sure that we stay ahead of the potential challenges in the system.
And appreciate you mentioning the interceptor. I'll get to that in a second. But in terms of numbers, do you have actual numbers as to how many different lines in our system burst, or how many incidents there were? Yep. Just to put details to it.
Yes.
Afternoon, Chair Glass. Afternoon, Council President and Council members. Munetsi Timothy Musara, Chief Financial Officer. So our crews have been very busy over the past several months. So between July 1st and March 12th, we had a total of 1,934 breaks. Of those, 1,934 of those, when we look at the winter season, which is November 1st through the end of February thus far, there were 1,456 breaks and leaks. So the teams have been able to get out there, get the job done, do the repairs with minimal impact to the system. And in the cold weathers and the frigid weather that we had, they were able to go out there and just uplift our customers. So we're really proud of the crews, and we appreciate all the efforts they do and all the support that you give us as a council as well. So thank you.
And just to be clear, the funding for the CIP helps protect and build and mitigate all of those nearly 1,934 incidents that occurred?
Yes, it does. The investment that we make on the long-term replacement rehabilitation of the system does so.
Okay, thank you. And then I just want to circle back to the interceptor. By all public accounts, that failure has been remedied, but there is a question outstanding about who is going to help pay for that. And can you clarify for us what that recovery agreement is?
So there's a percentage that we pay on DC Water related projects. We're aware that there has been a request made by DC Water as it relates to getting supplemental federal funding. That process is ongoing, and we'll see whether that is used to offset the percentage that we pay as an interjurisdictional partner. Right now, it's still in the works. There was a briefing prior to us coming here with the Prince George's County Council, where DC Water started presenting that information. So unfortunately, we skipped it to come here, but the general manager is involved, and we can definitely get you that information as it comes. But we're hoping that the additional federal funds that were requested offset our portion of that repair.
And would that be reflective in the operating budget that we take up, or whenever that settlement occurs? Just trying to get a sense of when the dollars and cents will be due.
If the dollars and cents are due this year, it'll come out of our existing budget. So we'll have to absorb that in what we have.
And then last question for me, what is the estimate right now before any reimbursement from the federal government might come?
I will have to get you that number. I can't remember it accurately from the top of my head.
Okay, please do follow up. We are, people recognize that this was the biggest spill of its kind in American history. They also recognize that it was a line owned and operated by DC Water. It was in Montgomery County, or it was in Maryland and Parkland. So the interjurisdictional nature of it is confusing, to say the least. But when folks have heard that we will have to foot the bill, it has raised some concerns. Okay. Thank you. Madam President, I yield back.
Thank you. Very important issue to raise. Thank you for doing so. Chair Glass. I don't see anybody else wanting to speak. With that, we appreciate the partnership with our friends from WSSC. And again, thank you for the board member to come, Ms. Foster, for being here today. And with that, without objection, we accept the committee's recommendation.
Just to clarify, the mid-cycle update, which came after the committee, I don't know if technically that requires a motion to support that today.
Let's make the motion just in case, because you opened that door. Moved by Councilmember Glass. Second by, thank you, I knew I canceled you. Thank you. Second by Councilmember Lorian Sales. All in favor, please raise your hand. Unanimous with everybody present today. And now, without objection, we move forward to accept the recommendation as amended today in this meeting. And that was the last item of the day. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you for coming.